Bandeham Shiguro Shiyata Parakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Shirupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirada Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timananda Shagyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milidam Yena Tasma Shigurave Nama Gorva Bishtam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shirupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishvara Sridharam Vanshakopatarubyas Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Nama. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is the Madhya-lila, chapter 20. The Lord instructs Sanatan Goswami. Begin with verse number 94. Prasana hoya Prabhu tare kripa koila Tara Kripaya Prashna Korite Tara Shakti Hoila. Being pleased with Sanatan Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed causeless mercy upon him. By the Lord's mercy, Sanatan Goswami received the spiritual strength to inquire from him. Purvejai Che Raya Poshe Prabhu Prashna Koila Tara Shakti Ramananda Tara Uttaradila. Formerly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had asked Ramananda Roy spiritual questions, and by the Lord's causeless mercy, Ramananda Roy could properly reply. Now, by the Lord's mercy, Sanatan Goswami questioned the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally supplied the truth. Krishna Swaru Madhur Yaish Bharya Bhaktir Rasashrayam Tattvam Sanatana Yesha Kripayo Padi Deshasa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally told Sanatan Goswami about Lord Krishna's real identity. He also told him about the Lord's conjugal love, his personal opulence, and the mellows of devotional service. All these truths were explained to Sanatan Goswami by the Lord himself out of his causeless mercy. Tabe Sanatana Prabhu Charane Doriya Donya Binati Kore Dante Trinaloya. Putting a straw in his mouth and bowing down, Sanatana Goswami clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and humbly spoke as follows. Nicha Jate Nicha Sangi Patita Adama Kubi Shaya Kupe Pare Goinainu Janama. Sanatan Goswami said, I was born in a low family, and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen and am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life fallen in the well of sinful materialism. Sanatan Goswami said, I was born in a low-class family, and my associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen and am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life fallen in the well of sinful materialism. Actually, Sri Sanatan Goswami belonged to a Brahmin family because he belonged to the Saraswat division of the Brahmins and was well cultured and well educated. Somehow or other, he accepted a ministership in the Muslim government. Therefore, he had to associate with meat eaters, drunkards, and gross materialists. Sanatan Goswami considered himself fallen, for in the association of such men, he also fell victim to material enjoyment. Having passed his life in that way, he considered that he had wasted his valuable time. This statement about how one can become fallen in this material world is made by the greatest authority in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Actually, the whole world is presently fallen into material existence. Everyone is a meat eater, drunkard, woman hunter, gambler, and whatnot. People are enjoying material life by committing the 4 basic sins. Although they are fallen, if they simply submit themselves at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will be saved from sinful reactions. Apanara hita hita kichvi na jani, gramya vyabahare panditai satyamani. I do not know what is beneficial for me and what is detrimental. Nevertheless, in ordinary dealings, people consider me a learned scholar, and I also am thinking of myself as such. Kripa korijadi more, korijacha udar, apana kripa te kaha kartavyamar. Out of your causeless mercy, you have delivered me from the materialistic path. Now, by the same causeless mercy, please tell me what my duty is. Kayami kiniyamai jareta patrai, iha nahi jani kimone hita hoy. Who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? Sadhya sarana tatva puchite na jani, kripa kore sab tatva kahana apani. Actually, I do not know how to inquire about the goal of life and the process for obtaining it. Being merciful upon me, please explain all these truths. Prabhu kohe Krishna kripa, tomate purna hoy, sabatatva jan tomar nahi tapatroy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lord Krishna has bestowed his full mercy upon you, so that all these things are known to you. For you, the threefold miseries certainly do not exist. Krishna Shakti Dara Tumi Jana Tattva Bhav Jani Dardilage Puche Sarura Swabhav. Since you possess Lord Krishna's potency, you certainly know these things. However, it is the nature of a sadhu to inquire. Although he knows these things, the sadhu inquires for the sake of strictness. Achiradeva sarvarta siddhyati yesham adipsita taddharma shava bodhaya yesham nirban dinimati. Those who are eager to awaken their spiritual consciousness and thus have unflinching, undeviated intelligence certainly attain the desired goal of life very soon. Jogya patra how to me bhakti pravartate krami sabha tattva shuna kohiye tomate. You are fit to propagate the cult of devotional service. Therefore, gradually hear all the truths about it from me. I shall tell you about them. Jivara swarupoi Krishna nityadas, Krishnara tatasta shakti beda bed prakash, suryamsa kirana jaiche agni jwala chai, swabhavika Krishnara tina prakar shakti hoy. It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. Krishna has 3 varieties of energy. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains these verses as follows. Sri Sanatan Goswami asked Mahaprabhu, who am I? In answer, the Lord replied, you are a pure living entity. You are neither the gross material body nor the subtle body composed of mind and intelligence. Actually, you are a spirit soul, eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, Krishna. Therefore, you are his eternal servant. You belong to Krishna's marginal potency. There are two worlds, the spiritual world and the material world. And you are situated between the material and spiritual potencies. You have a relationship with both the material and the spiritual world. Therefore, you are called the marginal potency. You are related with Krishna as one and simultaneously different. Because you are spirit soul, you are one in quality with the Lord. But because you are a very minute particle of spirit soul, you are different from the Supreme Soul. Therefore, your position is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Soul. The examples given are those of the sun itself and the small particles of sunshine, and of a blazing fire and the small particles of fire, or sparks. Another explanation of this verse can be found in Madhya-lila chapter 2, verse 96. Ekdesha stita shyagner jochna vistaraniyata parasya brahmana shakti stateham tatedam akilam jagat. Just as the illumination of a fire, which is situated in one place, is spread all over, the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman, are spread all over the universe. Krishnadas Svabhavika Teen Shakti, Parinati Chid Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Aramaya Shakti. Lord Krishna naturally has three energetic transformations, and these are known as the spiritual potency, the living entity potency, and the illusory potency. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gyakya Tata Para Avidyam Karma Samgyayam Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. Originally, Krishna's energy is spiritual, and the energy known as the living entity is also spiritual. However, there is another energy called illusion, which consists of fruit of activity. That is the Lord's third potency. Shaktaya sarva bhavanam achintya jnana gochara yato to brahmanasyastu sargadya bhava shaktaya bhavanti dapatam shreshta bhavakasya yatochnata. All the creative energies which are inconceivable to a common man exist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. These inconceivable energies act in the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. O chief of the ascetics, just as there are two energies possessed by fire, namely heat and light, these inconceivable creative energies are the natural characteristics of the Absolute Truth. Yaya Chatragya Shakti Sa Vestita Nripasarvaga Samsara Tapan Akilan Avapnoti Atra Santatan. Yaya Chatragya Shakti Sa Vestita Nripasarvaga Samsara Tapan Akilan Avapnoti Atra Santatan. O King, the Kshetragya Shakti is the living entity. Although he has the facility to live in either the material or the spiritual world, he suffers the threefold miseries of material existence because he is influenced by the avidya, nescience potency, which covers his constitutional position. Tayantiro hitatvatscha shakti kshetragya samgita Sarvabhuteshu bhupala taratam yena vartate. This living entity, covered by the influence of nescience, exists in different forms in the material condition. O King, he is thus proportionally freed from the influence of material energy to a greater or lesser degrees. To greater or lesser degrees. This living entity, covered by the influence of nescience, exists in different forms in the material condition. O king, he is thus proportionally freed from the influence of material energy to greater or lesser degrees. Apariyamitastvanyam prakritim vidime param shivabhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Krishna Buli se jiva anade bahirmukh ateva mayatare deya samsara dukh. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity, has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy Maya gives him all kinds of misery in his material existence. Kabu sparge utaya kabu narake dubai danya jane raja jena nadite chubai. In the material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to higher planetary systems and material prosperity, and sometimes drowned in a hellish position, in a hellish situation. His state is exactly like that of a criminal who a king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. So the prisoner is strapped to a chair and then is lowered into the water until he's covered with water and can't breathe, and he's held there for some time and then raised above the water for a moment so he can just get a breath of fresh air, and then submerged again in the water. And that is very distressful for the prisoner, almost drowning and then being raised for just a gasp of fresh air. So that here it mentions this kind of punishment. In the material condition, the living entity is sometimes raised to higher planetary systems and material prosperity, and sometimes drowned in a hellish situation. His state is exactly like that of a criminal who the king punishes by submerging him in water and then raising him again from the water. Bayam ditya viniveshatadshad ishada petasya viparya yosmriti tanmaya yato buddha abhajetam bhaktyayika yesham gurudeva tatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparya yosmriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. Bayam ditya binivesha tadshad ishad apetasya viparya yosmriti tanmaya yato buddha abhajedtam bhaktyayika yesham gurudeva tatma. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy, which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparya yosmriti. To nullify this mistake, one who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity, and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. So this describes that in contact with the material energy, the living entity's conception of life becomes reversed, or you can say a role reversal. Instead of being Krishna's servant, eternal servant of Hari, it becomes Krishna's competitor. And that is the nature of the false ego. By the false ego, one tries to become the Purusha. Instead of being Paraprakriti, the servant of the Lord. Prakriti is feminine, but the Lord is the only, is actually the Supreme Purusha, and all energies are meant for serving Him. And we are also of the nature of that energy, Paraprakriti, we could say, exhibited in the form of consciousness. But we are under this role reversal where now, by the dictation of false ego, we become Krishna's competitor. We want to be the enjoyer instead of trying to please Krishna. Sadhu Shastra Kripa Jari Krishnonmukha Hoy Se Jiva Nishtare Maya Tahare Charai. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya dharatyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayamitam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So Krishna says that this Maya, the external energy of the Lord, he says, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of nature, is difficult to overcome. So why is it divine? Because it's connected with the Lord. It's working as the Lord's energy, as Daivi Prakriti, divine energy. Even though one may speak of being under the influence of Maya, the material energy, and speak despectively of that energy, but actually it's Daivi Prakriti, divine energy. You will not overcome that energy just on the basis of your own merit. It is only when one surrenders to the Lord that the material energy will, of her own accord, voluntarily release him. Maya mudga jiver nahi svata Krishna gyan, jivere kripai koila Krishna Veda Puran. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and its supplements, the Puranas. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janan Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivara Hoy Gyan. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand Lord Krishna as his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. Veda Shastra Kohe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan Krishna Prapya Sambandha Bhakti Pratyarad Sadan. The Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna, which is called Sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and his acting accordingly is called Abhideya. Returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called prayojana. Abhideya nama bhakti prema prayojan, purushartha shiromani prema mahadan. Devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called abhideya because it can develop one's original love of God, which is the goal of life. This goal is the living entity's topmost interest and greatest wealth. Thus one attains the platform of transcendental loving service unto the Lord. Krishna Madhurya Sevananda Praptira Karan, Krishna Seva Koriyara, Krishna Rasa Ashwadan. When one attains the transcendental bliss of an intimate relationship with Krishna, he renders service to him and tastes the mellows of Krishna consciousness. It's tasting Krishna Ras. Ihate drishtanta jaichi daridrera gare sarvagyase dukadeki puchaye tahare. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to the house of a poor man and seeing his distressed condition questioned him. Tumikene duke tomar ache pitredan tomarena kohila anyatra chadila jivan. The astrologer asked, "Why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you because he died elsewhere." Sarva gyara bhakye kore danera udeshe ache veda purana jive Krishna upadeshe. Just as the words of the astrologer, Sarvagya, gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advise one about Krishna consciousness when one is inquisitive to know why he is in a distressed material condition. Sarvagyara bhakye muladanas anubandha sarvashastre upadeshe Shri Krishna sambandha. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real connection is with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real connection is with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bapera dana ache gyane dana nahi pai tabe sarvagya kohe tari praptira upai. Although being assured of his father's treasure, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Therefore, the astrologer had to inform him of the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. Estani achedana jaridakine kudibe bima rula baruli iti utibe danana paibe. The astrologer said, the treasure is in this place, but if you dig toward the southern side, the wasps and drones will rise and you will not get your treasure. Paschime kudibe taha jaka ekahoy se vigna koribe dane hatana padai. If you dig on the western side, there is a ghost who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. Uttare kadibe ache Krishna agya Uttare kudile ache Krishna ajagare dananahi pabe kudite gilibe sabare. If you dig on the northern side, there is a big black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. Purva dik tate mati alpa kandite danera jari paribeka tomarakat hatete. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. Aje Shastra Kohe Karma Gyan Jogatyaji Bhakti Krishna Basha Hoy Bhakti Tarim Baji. The revealed scriptures conclude that one should give up fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, and the mystic yoga system, and instead take the devotional service by which Krishna can be fully satisfied. Na sadayati mam yogo na sangyam dharma udava na svadhyayas tapas Chago yata bhaktir mamorjita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, "My dear Uddhava, neither through Astanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me." Na sadayati mam yogo na shankyam dharma udava na svadhyayas tapas tyago yatao bhaktir mamorjita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, "My dear Uddhava, neither through Astanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. Bhaktyaham mekaya grayam shraddha yatma priyasatam bhakti punati mamnishta svapakan adi sambhavat. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. This bhakti yoga system, which gradually increases the attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog eaters. That is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of bhakti yoga. Ateva bhakti Krishna praptyara upai abhideya bolitare sarva shastra gai. The conclusion is that devotional service is the only means for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This system is therefore called abhideya. That is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Dhanapaile jaichi sukha bhoga phalapai sukha bhoga hoite dukkha apani palai. When one actually becomes rich, he naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. When one is actually in a happy mood, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. No extraneous endeavor is needed. Taichi bhakti phale Krishna prema upajai preme Krishna svarat koile bhavanashapai. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. When one is so situated that he can taste the association of Lord Krishna, material existence, the repetition of birth and death, comes to an end. Daridrya nasha bhava choy, primera falanoi, prima sukha bhogam mukya prayojana hoy. Daridya nasha bhava koi, primera falanoi, prima sukha bhoga mukya prayojana hoy. The goal of love of God is not to become materially rich or free from material bondage. The real goal is to be situated in devotional service to the Lord and to enjoy transcendental happiness, transcendental bliss. Veda Shastra Kohe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan Krishna Kripa Krishna Bhakti Prema Tin Madhya-lila. Daridyanasha Bhavakoi Prema Falanoi Prema Sukha Bhoga Mukya Prayojana Hoy. The goal of love of God, it is not to become materially rich or free from material bondage. The real goal is to be situated in devotional service to the Lord and to enjoy transcendental bliss. Veda Shastra Kohe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan Krishna Bhakti Prema Tina Mahadan. In the Vedic literatures, Krishna is the central point of attraction, and his service is our activity. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Therefore, Krishna's service, and love of Krishna are the three riches of life. Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan. Prayojan is relationship. Abhideya is service to the Lord. And Prayojan is developing love of Godhead. In the Vedic literatures, Krishna is the central point of attraction, and his service is our activity. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Therefore, Krishna's service and love of Krishna are the three great riches of life. Vidadi Sakala Shastra Krishna Mukya Sambandha Thara Jnane Anusange Jai Maya Bandhana. In all revealed scriptures, beginning with the Vedas, the central point of attraction is Krishna. When complete knowledge of him is realized, the bondage of Maya, the illusory energy, is automatically broken. Vyamohaya characharasya jagatas tate purana gamas tam evahi devatam paramikam jalpantu kopavadi siddhante punareka eva bhagavan Vishnu samastagama vyapareshu vivechana vyatikaram nileshu nischiyate vyomahaya characharasya jagatast te puranagamas tam evahi devatam paramikam jalpantu kamavadi siddhante punareka eva bhagavan Vishnu samastagama vyapareshu vivechana vyatikaram niteshu nischiyate. There are many types of Vedic literatures and supplementary Puranas. In each of them, there are particular demigods who are spoken of as the chief demigods. This is just to create an illusion for moving and non-moving living entities. Let them perpetually engage in such imaginations. However, when one analytically studies all these Vedic literatures collectively, one comes to the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a verse from the Padma Purana, Mukhya Gona Vritti Kimva Avyaya Vyati Reke Vedesha Pratigya Kevala Goheya Krishnake. When one accepts the Vedic literature by interpretation or even by discipline or by dictionary meaning, directly or indirectly, the ultimate declaration of Vedic knowledge points to Lord Krishna. Mukhya Gona Vritti Kimva Amvaya Vyatireke Vedera Pratigya Kevala Kohaye Krishnake. When one accepts the Vedic literature by interpretation or even by dictionary meaning, directly or indirectly, the ultimate declaration of Vedic knowledge points to Lord Krishna. Kim virate kim achaste kim anudya vikopayet iti asya hridayam loke nanyo madveda kaschana mam virate mam vikopya poyate tva yaham itavan sarva vedartha Shabda ashtaya mambiram mayamatram anudyante pratishidya prasidati. Lord Krishna said, what is the purpose of all Vedic literatures? On whom do they focus? Who is the object of all speculation? Outside of me, no one knows these things. Now you should know that all these activities are aimed at ordaining and setting forth me. The purpose of the Vedic literatures is to know me by different speculations, either by indirect understanding or by dictionary understanding. Everyone is speculating about me. The essence of all Vedic literatures is to distinguish me from Maya. By considering the illusory energy, one comes to the platform of understanding me. In this way, one becomes free from speculation about the Vedas and comes to me as a conclusion. Thus, one is satisfied. These two verses are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. When Uddhava asked Krishna about the purpose of Vedic speculation, the Lord informed him of the process of understanding the Vedic literature. The Vedas are composed of Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, and Upasanakanda. One who analytically studies the purpose of the Vedas understands that by Karmakanda, sacrificial activity, one comes to the conclusion of Jnanakanda, speculative knowledge, and that after speculation, one comes to the conclusion that worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate. When one comes to this conclusion, one becomes fully satisfied. Krishnadas Swarupa Nanta Vaibhava Apar Chid Shakti Maya Shakti Jiva Shakti are. The transcendental form of Lord Krishna is unlimited and also has unlimited opulence. He possesses the internal potency, external potency, and marginal potency. Vaikunta Brahmanda Gana Shakti Karya Hoy Swarup Shakti Karjera Krishna Samasroy. The material and the spiritual world are transformations of Krishna's external and internal potencies, respectively. Therefore, Krishna is the original source of both the material and the spiritual manifestations. Dashame dashamam laksham ashrita shraya vigraham Shri Krishnakyam Paramdama Jagadama Damam Sitat. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is thus known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all the universes, please let me offer my obeisances unto him. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the truth. The 10th object of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all the universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. Krishnadas Swarup Vichar Shuna Sanatan Advaya Jnana Tattva Braje Brajendra Nandan. O Sanatan, please hear about the eternal form of Lord Krishna. He is absolute truth, devoid of duality, but present in Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Maharaj. Sarva Adi Sarva Amshi Kishora Shekar Chidananda Deho Sarva Shraya Sarveshvar Sarva Adi Sarva Amshi Kishora Shekar Chidananda Deho Sarva Shraya Sarveshvar. Krishna is the original source of everything and the sum total of everything. He appears as the supreme youth, and his whole body is composed of spiritual bliss. He is the shelter of everything and master of everyone. Krishna is the original source of everything and the sum total of everything. He appears as the supreme youth, and his whole body is composed of spiritual bliss. He is the shelter of everything and master of everyone. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarva Karanam Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarva Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all, and he has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Govinda Paranam Sarvaishvarya Param Jara Goloka Nityadam. The original Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. His original name is Govinda. He is full of all opulences, and his personal abode is known as Goloka Vrindavan. Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakalam Lokam Mridyanti Yuge Yuge. All these incarnations of Godhead are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. All these incarnations are either plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. In every age, he protects the world through his different features, and when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. So he protects the world through his different features when the world is disturbed by the enemies of Indra. Jnana Yoga Bhakti Teen Sambandera Bashe Ramatma Bhagavan Trivida Prakashe. There are three kinds of spiritual processes for understanding the absolute truth: the processes of speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and bhakti yoga. According to these three processes, the absolute truth is manifest as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanamad vayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabhyate. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanamad vayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Brahma Anga Kanti Tara Nirvisesh Prakashe Surya Jena Krishna Surya Brahma Anga Kanti Tara Nirvisesh Prakashe Surya Jena Charma Chakke Jyotirmoy Bashe. The manifestation of the impersonal Brahman effulgence, which is without variety, is the rays of Krishna's bodily effulgence. It is exactly like the sun. When the sun is seen by our ordinary eyes, it appears to consist simply of effulgence. Yasha Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shasesha Vasudari Vibhuti Binan Tad Brahma Nishkalam Ananda Asesha Bhutam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences, and in millions and millions of universes. Paramatma Jeho Teho Krishna Rekamsha Atma Atmara Atma Hoy Krishna Sarva Avatamsha. The Paramatma, the Supersoul feature, is a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original source of all living entities. Krishna is the source of the Paramatma. Krishnam enam avehitvam atmanam akilatmanam jagaditaya sopyatra dehi vabhati mayaya. Krishnam enam avehitvam atmanam akilatmanam jagaditaya sopyatra dehi vabhati mayaya. You should know Krishna is the original soul of all Atmas, living entities. For the benefit of the whole universes, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his own internal potency. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow I'll continue. Hari Harai Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Okay. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra, Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra, Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath, H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan, H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan, Ja hoite Vignana Shavista Puran, Ja hoite Vignana Shavista Puran, H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas, H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas, Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras, Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras, Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas, Janame More Abhilash, Janame More Abhilash, H.I. Gosai Jabe Branche Koilabas, H.I. Gosai Jabe Branche Koilabas, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan, Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Juki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakshira Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga ki jai, Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai, Nartam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu ki jai, Jayom Vishnu Jayom Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai, Jayom Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Shri Navadeep Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapur ki jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Kuladvip ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kuna Radhakunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Ekadasi Upavas ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.